It's really been the champion that, there we go, that Elements has been shining on because they've been able to make aggressive plays in the early game. With it, Froggen on Lissandra and then Rengar being locked in by Shook. That combination together has actually started a lot of things, and it seems like Elements as a team, they need some sort of hard engage on their side where they can actually set up some ganks with Shook to really get rolling in the early game. Otherwise, it just becomes this farm game where they're waiting for as long as possible before the laning phase breaks. And that buys a lot of time for the other team there to find out, okay, what are we going to do in the mid game here? How are we going to punish Elements for just sitting back and farming?
Yeah, Gambit are going to have to take a very proactive approach. They do have potentially strong early game if they're able
3
to
top
build a
laners.
comp for it. Yeah, really interesting that they focus so hard on Wickd.
Well, the thing is, Wickd, again, Wickd has always been a guy where we said, how big is his champion pool? What can he play at a top level? And we have seen before that people have banned him out and managed actually to make it work. In this case, Lulu can be his go-to pick. He's played it a few times. He played it last year as well. We also seen his Rumble against SK Gaming. So there's still a few picks left for Wickd in this top lane.
Yeah, Rumble is one of them. They figure if they want to take that now. The Ahri was locked in immediately for Nick, and I think it actually was pretty smart of Elements not to ban the Zed. They've been banning it a lot, but you don't necessarily need to against Gambit because Nick hasn't been particularly scary on that champion.
Yeah.
Nidalee does make it through the ban phase, however, and Gambit is certainly thinking about that one. Don't have to take it quite now because of the jungle pickup, although, you know, we could potentially see it picked up in the mid or something like that, so maybe they do want to.
Well, the thing is, if you take it now, it's just because you want to see more picks from Elements and then try and counter-pick later on with your last 2 picks over here on the side of Gambit. And if there's not really any contested picks left to go for. But Elements saying, we don't care about Nidalee, we don't care about her early game power. Instead, we want to have this fantastic synergy between a Rumble and a Jarvan, where you have the Cataclysm from Jarvan to lock in targets and then the ulti coming down from Wickd. So they're looking at all these bans from Gambit saying we need to get a Rumble or at least a pick for Wickd early. And obviously Jarvan was open as well to synergize really well between the two.
And on Gambit's side, they lock in not only Pinoy's Kalista, and he had a pretty solid game on that one yesterday, but also the Morgana, which you would think at first glance may be going to Eddie, but Cabochard played it yesterday, 7-1 and 3.
Fantastic performance.
Really good performance on that AP top.
Really good performance, and actually into Rumble here.
And he went full damage too, no cooldown. So it was like complete nuke.
Full damage, nuke Morgana top lane. And if you get to this one-on-one lane, all you do is you just push the wave 24/7 with your pool, and then you chip away at this tower as much as possible, which then opens up for Gambit later on to go and take a very low tower for the global gold and try and snowball it that way. H2K managed to do that yesterday against Elements, where they got every single outer turret, fairly low, and they just waited for Yarnan to move from the bottom lane to mid lane to top lane and take them down, get a big goal lead in the mid game, and Elements had no response.
Well,
8 games,
this time, yeah.
8 times Graves.
They go for the Graves for Rekkles. Once again, his champion pool has consisted of exactly that this spring split. The Lulu lock-in, this time, it won't be Wickd playing that one. He did play it yesterday, not really to great effect, and Gambit has a chance to do something here to lock in. We still have the Morgana as a potential support, but it is that flexible pick. And Gambit are going to take their time about what they want to pick in last. You see...
So, yes. Elements on their side again. Lulu is still somewhat of a flex pick. It can go to Froggen in the mid lane. He's played it a lot in the past. Otherwise, you can go for Nyph, and you have a very strong early lane between the Graves and the Lulu. And also, if you're in a lane swap, which we often see with the Rumble pickups, then you can actually fast push your lane really easily.
And this is the power pickup here for Gambit Gaming. Not only do they get that Nidalee for Diamond, but Eddie gets a chance to be the Thresh Prince again. And ooh! Whoa! The ANivia for Froggen! And we're going back in time.
Oh yeah! This is such a strong AoE composition from Elements in these team fights. The one more combo they can do between a Cataclysm and them being stuck as well in with the ANivia ulti, followed by Rumble ulti, the Graves come in. There's so much damage on the side of Elements here. We're just going to have to see how they're going to play the early game, because it's going to be the Morgana top lane. And what you typically want to do against that, in this case, if you don't want to face, or if you don't want to risk your towers being chipped down, you lane swap on the Morgana, despite it still being fairly good at farming in it. Rumble is extremely hard to dive with the Doran shield. If you get to that Morgana early enough and you bait out her back shield, you can kill her in the lane swap. You have the Lulu Graves as well that can fast push the wave very easily, get the tower down, and then swap back down to the lane. We're really going to have to see a lot of things up in the air. It's funny with Kalista, because she's still so new especially here in Europe, only Freeze and Pinoy plays her. A lot of different opinions about how strong she is in the laning phase, and it's a lot about, again, abusing this level 2 power spike according to Crepo, where if you talk to someone like Freeze, he doesn't really like her in the laning phase. I want to see how Elements want to position on the map. If they get 2-2 again with the Graves, and if Pinoy doesn't feel too confident in that matchup, then they can try and pull him out as well. But there's so many things up in the air here. And really, we have ANivia in the mid lane.
Yeah, if I didn't know any better, I'd say you were excited, Deficio. Now, let us know if you think Gambit's going to pull off an upset win against these Elements by tweeting us at LOL Esports with the hashtag GMB win or EL win. We're going to check on those results. But right now, it's all about this matchup. Gambit and Elements onto the Rift.
I can't believe Froggen has gone back to ANivia now.
I'm excited. Have you heard about the word?
I have heard about it indeed. And Eddie is being dragged out of his base. Gambit is just gonna go straight actually out in this spread in the river. Try and spot every entrance. See if Elements is moving in for some deep wards at level 1. Try and gather the information we so often see. Wickd again. He actually likes to start boots. He did it on Gnar. He's done it on Rumble again, so he doesn't get any combat stats in a lane. Just get a bit extra mobility, and we've seen it twice now. Jumbok did it too. And it's not really been paying off, because again, you don't really gain anything from it in terms of your level 1.
Yeah, he was doing that on the Kennen, and this is, I feel like it's a little different situation, but maybe he's anticipating being dove down.
But that's the problem. If you're anticipated being dived in a lane swap, you go door and shield. So you're a lot more tanky.
That's a fair point.
In the early game, and again, the boots doesn't really offer you anything other than that extra mobility. So I want to see what he's building towards. I mean, remember, against SK Gaming, Wickd went straight into a death cap. And he said it was because they had Abyssal Scepter and he ran Magic Penetration runes. So he didn't feel like he needed more Magic Penetration. Because again, Froggen and Lissandra had the Abyssal Scepter. I still disagree on that one. Death Cap is way too expensive. You don't gain enough if you have fairly poor AP ratios on a Rumble. And getting it as a first item, then you don't really utilize the passive. So I really don't want to see that as a first item here from Wickd.
Yeah, I'll see if he mixes it up this time. Definitely didn't work out quite so well for him in that last. Edward hanging out in the brush, but he doesn't have the help of Pinoy, who's actually a little bit more preoccupied with the Gromp.
So it is Gambit in this game here, swapping the Kalista and the Thresh away from this Lulu Graves lane, getting the freeze going for Eddie. And again now, there's boots on Wicked, so remember, he's weaker early on here, meaning Gambit wants to actually spot his starting items, might opt to go for a dive. For now, they're going to set up a freeze, which is what you normally would see against a Rumble, because again, he's so risky to dive. We've seen it go wrong many, many times. But this freeze itself, barely did anything for Gambit.
Don't think so.
No, that's actually going to push back down towards Elements. They didn't manage to get the freeze completely going in the lane. I think Eddie actually last hit 2 minions with his Relic Shield. And I remember Crepo back doing Worlds on the analyst desk saying, as a support, if you're setting up a freeze, never last it with your Relic Shield, because you need those minions to be there for as long as possible to deal the right amount of damage. And it's actually meant that this lane now is going to push towards Wicked very slowly. And he can go up here after getting level 2 in the jungle and start picking up some farm. Gambit setting up to go and dive in yet. Cabochard obviously doing the exact same down in his lane as level 2. Farming away. Bigger freeze though being set up. Sorry, actually again, no freeze either from Elements. So both teams have to push up the waves.
Yeah, it's going to accelerate things just a bit for the top laners respectively being able to get some farm back. Now, Diamond is making a move with Eddie here, throws the trap down. And he actually decides, instead of trying to push the wave, he's going to be eyeballing the counter jungle for a minute.
And remember here, Morgana is fairly squishy. She doesn't have Black Shield yet, so Elements can actually build up this wave and go and dive her if they want to. But for now, doing this call correct, now moving down to it. There's 2 wards placed by Gambit already. So Cabochard knows, and he's backing away. This is enough for Elements. You don't even need that kill. You just need to force the top laner away so he loses all the experience on the minions under the tower here. Froggen
eats a charm. Flash Frost going to connect on the edge of the minions, yeah. Nick takes a bit of damage off the back of that. Diamond, Pinoy, and Eddie are trying to make a push of their own as they're continually denying even the Gromps, or the Krugs, excuse me, from Cabochard. Shook's going to be able to take those away.
Yeah, just putting all the focus on zoning away this Morgana here, denying everything from Cabochard. He's still only level 2 for himself, while Gambit then can trade tower for tower. So they In the end, they trade. Wickd has been sharing XP, so he's not too far ahead either. And they're just going to get 2 turrets down early, 1 for each team.
4 in the bottom, 3 in the top. Gambit taking slightly slower route to finishing off this turret. Should be able to get it all the same as Wickd is going to move up there. He's been a little bit starved to farm as well. 4 CS apiece for those top laners.
Yeah. So basically just sacrifice the top laners here. Giving all the farm to the AD carries. Pinoy obviously actually been 2-2 with Eddie, so he's not been getting solo XP. And meanwhile in this mid lane, Froggen, as we know him when he plays ANivia, if there's anyone who doesn't know anything about Froggen, who just started watching the European LCS, then he is the ANivia god. It is his best champion if you look at the history of Froggen back in Season 2 days when he was again playing with CLG EU. It was all about that ANivia in the mid lane, and he has so many small tricks he likes to use when he plays it. He will always send out, if he knows his Q is going to connect, he's going to have his E flying in the air just behind it as well. So he gets that instant burst here. He's not going to wait for you to react at all here. And he's really, really, really skilled on this champion. But it's been a while since we've seen it actually.
Indeed it has. Froggen keeping up on the farm. Nick has been pushed back just a little bit. Shook getting a few counter jungle wards of his own while Pinoy continues to push Wickd back in this top side. Pinoy in this Kalista, he had a pretty good game on it yesterday. And with Eddie on the Thresh, in the bottom lane, Rekkles is going to take a little bit of damage from the Tormented Soil and the Q.
So Gambit actually decided to stay in the top lane with Pinoy and Eddie here to keep pushing it down because Wickd wasn't there in the lane. He has no proper wave clear to stop it, and there was no help at all. So they're actually going to be able to get a lot of damage on this turret while Cabochard and this Morgana has to pull to keep the wave in the middle here and very far away from his own turret. So just been using that little wave clear advantage by having Morgana into the rumble to actually push down and get 40% damage on this top lane turret, and now they can swap around. Cutlass completed for Pinoy. He did the same yesterday, and this is simply because he prefers Blade of the Ruined King in nearly every setup on Kalista. It's not even about what he's playing against. He just really prefers to get Blade as the first item that into Hurricane. It's the style he likes the most, and we see different styles often in LPL, and when Freeze plays it, we see the BT into a Hurricane, but obviously whatever suits you
Hurricane first too. Yeah,
Hurricane first as well. I mean, it's all about still getting that attack speed. And it's going to make him very mobile and a bit stronger in terms of one-on-ones. If he's chasing on for these kills, you have to slow from the Blade, and obviously, again, you have to slow from your Rend.
Oh!
Rekkles?
Truly blind. Rekkles is going to back out of that one. Nyph coming down as well as Shook, clearing out the ward in the river. Eddie's not going to be able to defend that one.
So funny enough, the last time we saw Froggen play ANivia, let's go back to him. We can actually wait because Shook is showing himself in the bottom lane.
Yep, Pinoy.
Now he's showing himself in the river.
Lantern to safety. Edward's got his back.
Yeah, but the last time we saw Froggen play ANivia was in the summer split last year. It was actually against Gambit in week 4, and Elements lost the game, and we never saw ANivia again in the 2014 season. And now he's pulling it back out against Gambit. And obviously remember, back in DreamHack 2012, it's a very famous CLG EU game against Moscow.
Now we're looking
at
the threat. Ooh,
straight away.
They catch Eddie. Froggen's going to be able to get the stun off, but Nyph will take a spear. No answer back. Wickd, meanwhile, is going to be pushing in this mid and draw the attention of Cabochard. So the bottom lane will continue to be a 4v3 now with Diamondprox moving up. Kind of moving between the lanes, really.
Yeah, so Wickd actually started a...
Oh, they get the charm on Froggen. That's going to force the wild growth. Rekkles will back the rest of Gambit away. And once again, they don't like it. They back off. Gambit in hot pursuit, but they won't be able to catch.
No real way for Gambit to really get in there and catch elements. While they have a lot of mobility, it's all based around either getting auto attacks off from Pinoy or having ulti ready for Nick. Otherwise, they can't really chase onto targets. And there's no real hard engage either for Gambit, so they're basically relying on landing these skill shots to start the fights. We saw AD trying to flash in, missed for him. And really, Elements been in a good position in this game. Hitting kills, got the 2 dragons as well.
And that wave clear that Froggen is bringing on this ANivia is going to make it hard for Gambit to try and surprise shove any lanes. The waves have been well controlled by the rest of Elements. And Gambit, yeah, they're reduced to trying to get picks here. Now, they're not so far behind Elements right now, but they aren't quite getting anything for their troubles. They're just forced to move around, push waves back, and try to hope that Elements wanders blind into the jungle.
Exactly. They don't really have any split pushing options coming in. I mean, the Morgana split push is not the most scary thing in the world. So they can push out the waves and then again regroup as a team and try and land this one very important skill shot. But you also have to remember Nyph is going to be there with his ulti to kind of deny you that one-shot potential on whoever you catch. So Gambit has a comp which has very little tools to actually deal with elements, and that's why we see also Gambit trailing behind. Is that a Rod of Ages on a jungle Nidalee? Came in very late. It's going to take quite a while to stack up, so Diamond is expecting to go for a very long game here.
That is the trend of Gambit's games so far, however, and Elements.
Oh, Elements. They have a ward in this Baron, so they see it. They're moving there. They're going to stop Gambit here. They're going for it at least.
Should be able to, yeah. There's quite a lot of damage being dealt to the Baron.
Have to remember the Ren stack,
very, very quick. Teleport's coming in, yeah. They've got to back off this one.
All right, so Elements had actually placed a ward. Gambit tried it. That was actually a good play, because Elements was trying to set up on the bottom lane. They hadn't pushed in any of the waves yet. So Gambit was trying to sneak a free Baron, but had already, well, there was already a ward placed by Elements to stop it. So teleport was forced by Wickd, or from Wickd. So a small victory there for Gambit.
Yeah, they're able to get Elements to move where they want them to, even if they can't grab the Baron themselves. Dragon's going to be on the table in just another minute. Shook eats a spear around the side, but they're back to it. Cabochard! Froggen is able to pick up that kill, and they're not done yet, but Rekkles, he's a little bit low. Wild growth on him as he throws out the collateral damage. Gambit scatter back.
Cabochard, did he flash in and just die instantly?
I think he did. I think he was going for the soul shackles, but he just got popped before the hourglass could be used.
Instantly. You have that point and click whimsy as well from Nyph to kind of stop him from actually going into hourglass at any given time. You need just a little bit of time on Morgana to pop your ulti first, then hourglass, and that opens up for Elements to stun him, or in this case turn him into a cupcake, I guess it is, and then kill him.
Let's take a look at how that one happened.
Yeah, let's see. So he's trying to flash over the wall. There's a ward already placed. Actually, he's not. He flashes in. No flash.
Black shield. Flashes.
There we go.
There we go. Oh, immediately cupcake. Yeah. No chance to do what he wanted to do. And just gets popped. Rekkles, they almost get Rekkles for a moment, but again, this is the power of that Lulu support, is that you have so many tools, so many utility tools in particular, to stop big plays like that from happening. Yeah,
and once we're going to have Mikhail's completed for Nyph, then it becomes even harder to find that one pick through the skill shots. And also, again, Rekkles can go for Banshee, so QSS, then suddenly he's not a target either, and you have to aim towards Froggen or Wickd in these fights.
Speaking of Rekkles, solos the dragon, slays it down. That is the third one of the game for Elements. They will have that movement speed buff available to them. Froggen flaps his wings just a little bit harder, dodges most of the skill shots. Spear's still going to hit him in the face, though.
And right now, notice the side lanes from Elements. The bottom lane is going to push in for them. And top lane as well is actually going to push for Gambit. That's why they're pinging it and going to go up there to push it out before they decide to do anything. They don't really want to just go down 5 versus 5 under the turret. We're still a little bit too early in the game to do that. Don't really want to go for any risky dives. So that's why they're putting all the focus on the side lane minion waves first. Trying to again spread out Gambit and then have an opening, because as soon as Gambit moves away, if they just send, let's say, Diamond down to the bottom lane and they're standing 4 guys at the tower, then you can expect a wall coming in from the ANivia and try and land that one stun, get your pick, and then you get the tower as well.
Next trying to cover his pink ward, but Elements too strong, controlling the vision in this jungle for the time being. Nick on this Ahri. He's not done terrible, but he hasn't really been able to find the picks he needed, and now he's in a little bit of trouble. Black Shield is on as he spirit rushes out of the Cataclysm. An ult for an ult.
This has just been a very standard Nick game where we don't really see too much coming. He doesn't really die, but hasn't been able to offer anything either. He's not the only member though.
Oh, Shook's hot, caught. Nearly gets, again, there's the charm. Maybe Nick can find something there, but the wild growth will keep him alive. Pinoy gonna flash it up, Eddie. No, they're not gonna quite go in on that one. They cut Froggen, but they have to back off. Elements damage, just too much.
Did get the flash from Pinoy.
Oh, Diamond.
Diamond, yeah. He
goes a little ham.
His spears. Remember, he's gone for a fairly slow AP build where he needs that Rod of Ages to stack up, and he got it very late in the game, seeing as he is a jungler. So not really that strong at this point. Really
yeah.
Looking.
The spears are not quite as painful as we've seen from these jungle Nidalees.
And that really is also why we don't see Rod of Ages on Nidalee, because you have to go for this flat AP in terms of the mid game, otherwise it takes you too long to kind of scale up and you will fall behind compared to what a normal AP solo lane Nidalee would be able to do. And that's why he's not really able to offer too much damage in the game here, except for obviously the base damage we do often see.
Well, he does just max out his rod stacks, but yeah, a little bit late in the game because he had to pick that up, of course, second item. A very curious choice, but Diamond's always doing something a little bit different than everybody else.
Yeah, it does give him some extra HP, which is very needed against all the burst from Elements.
Teleport now on the Baron. Gambit, they're trying to force something here. Elements are wise to it, but they don't quite know exactly where Gambit is. Nyph is gonna have that revealed to him and walk it out.
Gambit trying to do what they can with their comp here. Set up a trap.
They burn the TP though.
Create a pick, yeah.
For effectively nothing.
True, but again they were hoping for Elements to walk into the Baron and then get binded or charmed and actually winning a fight, and then you go straight for Baron after, because remember when you have that Kalista, you can go for fairly aggressive ones, and with all the Rin stacks. So they're simply just trying to do what they can to bait out any objective and any kinds of face checking from Elements, but they're not buying it. Nyph was very, very careful there before.
Still got enough wave clear here, so Element's gonna try to muscle their way through, but they've caught Diamond for just a second. He backs out. Elements are playing very, very careful, as is what they typically do. Froggen eats the binding, but there is no follow-up from Gambit.
No follow-up, and all these wards being placed on the map from Elements towards this Baron, and right behind them, they can see everything that's going on.
Oh, Shook gets caught again.
Go.
Do they have the damage to shut him down? He's gonna flag drag his way to safety.
Trying to get the flank.
They're a little bit grouped up right now. Flash being burned. Here comes Nick and Froggen. They got the wild growth, but now they've caught Nyph. Throw down the equalizer to try and cover the retreat, but they're not done. Cabochard, the Dark Binding, gonna connect on Wickd. They are gonna find enough damage to at least pick off Nyph. Wickd solo, Diamond gonna find him. Nick now in some trouble. It's a double kill going over to Diamondprox, and he's not done yet.
They can go straight for Baron as well.
They're looking for even more.
Oh,
Rekkles. So close. Froggen nearly eats the spear. They should be able to find him though. No, he's gonna dodge this one. Hooked in now. Froggen, ANivia is served. And they find the kill. They should find the Baron. Elements lose 4 for none.
And that was just a perfect fight for Gambit here. They came from all the flanks around. Here we saw even Diamond. He was kiting around behind Elements, and they got the hook first. onto Shook, then onto Nyph. Let's see it again. First hook from Eddie. Notice how we have Nick from one side, and behind Elements we have the Nidalee coming in as well, just kiting around. Diamond is being such a pain in the butt here. Keep dancing. Nobody can lock him down. Ulti comes in onto the 3 guys from Gambit. They all stay alive. Cabochard tries to flash ulti. Doesn't actually get anything with it, but they're bought enough time, and Elements has been removed or moved away from their AoE wombo combo here, and suddenly Gambit can clean up the kills, get the Baron as well, we would assume, once we actually get out of the replay. Yeah, and from there it was pretty much just cleanup duty, so they're able to grab quite a lot off that. They took their time about it, took the safe route, and they are able to even up the game. Got themselves 1,000 gold ahead now after the fact, too. Now. Yeah, and they're controlling the map. And Elements actually had a lot of wards on the flank to try and see what was happening and if Gambit were trying to come around them here, but yet, or still, Shook getting hooked first, forcing Elements into a fight when they weren't in the right position, also in the middle of the lane, couldn't really get into a choke point, and Gambit just came from every direction, completely split up. Perfect way to play against this wombo combo from Elements. The dancing Nidalee of Diamondprox really coming up big there. He grabs himself a double kill, 3-0, and he's now got a Void Staff completed as well. So those spears are going to start hurting just a little bit more. Yeah. Speaking of, Rekkles got the shield on, so I guess it's okay for now, but he's taking more. Taking more. It's a good thing he's got that lifesteal. So yeah, again, Diamond is almost sort of like a semi-tank on this Nidalee here. It's not the spears that's going to destroy Elements, but again, if Diamond can actually stay alive and do exactly what he did in that last fight, where he was just jumping around behind them first, forced them to chase him, they couldn't catch him. If you want to play catch the Nidalee, you're going to have a bad time. Also slightly explain his build there again with the Rod of Ages. Yeah, look at these towers falling so fast. They've just got the damage output. Pinoy with that attack speed is just starting to come up pretty big. Elements not reacting quick enough. Keep in mind you got that 60% attack speed from the Nidalee onto your AD carry as well. You can take down towers very, very fast. And take down great turnaround by Gambit. Really fantastic team fight. The question is here, how can they keep this one up? Because Gambit's games have traditionally gone extremely long this split, and they've just had struggles closing even when they have a very strong early or mid game. But right now, they have a solid amount of damage on their side. They're playing well together. Yeah. Something would have to give here for them to give up this lead. Well, if they do allow Elements to actually group as a team in a, let's say in a choke point around the jungle where Gambit can get the flank, then yes, they can still lose the lead and lose the team fight. But if they can force Elements to fight out in the open, like we saw before here, or at least start the fight in the open and then dodge around these ultis, then Gambit has a very real chance. Remember, there are 4 damage dealers on the team. 2 of them has built either slight tanky or slight supportive for Cabochard with the cooldown reduction, but they still have a lot of damage to offer. Well, not to mention, Edward's still been grabbing those hooks left and right. He has really been a proponent in setting up these picks for Gambit. And now they're moving all over the map, not giving Elements really a chance to breathe. Wave pushing in the middle, they'll send Froggen to deal with it. Should be able to mop that up quite well, but Gambit already starting to eyeball this last outer, or inner turret, I should say. It's already very low. Remember they had that push. Oh, charm damage on Wickd, seriously. They got the hook. Oh my goodness, they just don't have the follow-up yet, but they're making him think twice. Oh, engage on the Cabochard. Okay, Cabochard, he goes Zanya's, and they throw down the equalizer. He's going to go to safety, still fine. Shook gonna take the damage. The ANivia wall is there. Rekkles nearly takes another hook. Cabochard's gonna get out alive again, though. And Diamond, he just stops the recalls here. Force Elements to run back to their fountain. Again, but they're not done. Staying around, we have to sustain from a Nidalee for the life. Teleport on Cabochard, too. Exactly. They don't want to let up on this one. You can only throw so many ANivia walls, too. They're not going to be stopped after a while. Oh, another spear connecting. Elements might look to fight. Shook is back here. So is Wickd. Diamond's around the other side as well. Cabochard pops the soul shackles for nothing. They get Froggen hooked up on a line. The box is down. Fate's call. Pinoy. They're going to flash away as he takes the stun from Froggen. Again, Elements have defended, but for how long? Rekkles just out of Dark Binding range, but he's fighting for Krugs. Cabochard now being chased down. Has to flash himself out of danger. Gambit, though, again, going straight to the middle, and Eddie trying to set up a pick on Rekkles. Oh, should have flayed. Yeah. Oh, and here comes Shook, though, like clockwork. They're looking for Pinoy, but he should be able to dodge it back. Cataclysm is not exactly the best against the Kalista. Just jumping right out of it for Pinoy here.
Meanwhile, in the bottom lane, some minions are pushing for elements. But they're going to be dealt with in the form of Cabochard as Nyph takes a charm. Not quite enough damage to spear. Whoa, that's close.
I love how Gambit is just running around the enemy jungle and just like one-on-one 2v2. They just keep looking for these picks here. Very, very hard to play against 4 elements.
I think they're just having a good time at this point.
Yeah, for sure.
Gambit, yeah, they've got themselves about 4,000 gold in the lead. Dragon is going to be a minute and a half away. And even though the game is starting to end a little or go a little bit longer, Gambit are looking pretty good this time around.
Yeah, for now here. We're going to wait for these next 2 big objectives. Dragon and Baron about a minute away. Gambit, yeah, or Diamond, sorry. Went for this Guardian Angel, so we are going to see this somewhat tanky Nidalee, which we talked about so many times already.
I'm interested in this too because, I mean, who else do you have that can really tank for your team? You've got Eddie, he's not particularly tanky yet. And I think this is actually, even though it's not optimal in terms of damage, he hasn't really needed to be like a massive nuke. He's just been getting in Element's face, annoying them, harassing them with spears over and over and over.
That's the thing. I mean, it is so hard to explain how Diamond is playing the Nidalee and how he's building it compared to so many other players. Because again, it's not about the damage. It's about just being annoying and being in the face, dancing around elements over and over.
And the rest of Gambit has actually done pretty well also. I want to give Nick some props for stepping up a little bit on this Ahri.
Yeah, again, managed to get a few kills. At least one for himself in the end. If Elements want to make this push, they really have to ward the flanks completely so they can see Gambit moving in. They have 2 wards here on the side to correctly spot Diamond. Now going in, setting up around the Baron. Remember, if Gambit gets in a situation where they have to face check towards an ANivia, they're going to get walled and killed. So they want to fight out in the open, not around a small Baron pit or the river around it here with all these small bushes that Elements can hide in.
Elements are trying to push the vision away. Dragon Baron both respawning about the same time. And Gambit are pushing up the middle. Rekkles is looking to try and do a little bit of a secret mission, take the Baron or take the Dragon himself. He did it quite well last time, but this is going to get spotted out by Diamondprox.
Oh, you might.
Oh, yeah, he could be in some trouble. He's cupcaked. And he has to wait a moment while his jump is reset, but there's no follow-up. Shook is isolated from his team right now, and that's the smite. They're going to throw a spear. Diamond comes in and gets the Nidalee assassination. Yeah. They will trade it for the Dragon as Wickd pops his Zhonya's. Not sure why.
For Shook, though, whenever he goes in, there's so many targets that can just jump right out of his ulti.
Oh, did Diamond just steal that?
He got the same one again, but Dragon did go to Elements. They have 4 dragons now. But they have to worry about this Baron. Remember the Kalista and the Ren stacks. Gambit are going straight forward. 30 seconds still on Shook.
Elements have to react to this, but what can they do other than try to force the fight? Nick's a little bit low. They've got the serious damage out on this Baron. Pinoy dancing back and forward as they try desperately to finish this one off. Oh, a brilliant equalizer to force them back with the ANivia while Edward is isolated. He takes so much damage from this team. Fate's Call pulls him back to safety. The Baron goes down. Diamond was able to grab it.
Oh,
They've caught Nyph. They blow him up, and somehow out of all that, Gambit managed to get the Baron. They get Nyph, and Elements get nothing.
And they're going to push straight towards the top lane. You have a lot of minions already. No way for Elements to push the mid lane. So, tower now again for Gambit.
Slow to react. They're backing away. But is it a little bit too late? They've got these Baron up minions. This tower is looking pretty juicy. And Pinoy, he may be 1, 3, and 4, but man, can he wreck some objectives. They're gonna take down inhibitor number 1. 42.5 minutes. Minions on the bottom side pushing against Gambit, but they should be able to answer that right away. Do they want to go in for the fight? Froggen, he's got nowhere to go. They've got the egg. Can they find the kill? They pull it in and serve it up again on a plate.
Oh, 10 seconds on Nyph here. They're still going. They have the Baron buff. They have minions coming as well from the top side. They have so much damage. They can take down these turrets if they stay. Want to play it safe though. They back away.
They do lose the tower on bottom, but you gotta think that is just so worth it. There's a minute left before Froggen respawns. The death timers are getting unforgiven. There may be a dragon advantage for Elements, but that doesn't mean much when you're able to make plays like that.
Just Shook going in and then basically being isolated from his own team. Ends up dying. Diamond still showed he had some damage on this Nidalee.
You know, Shook, they'd had some problems with communication. We saw in that game against SK.
Yeah, you really don't want to jump on Diamond. Again, he has a Guardian Angel as well. Not the right call by Elements. Ends up actually costing the Baron. 2 inhibitors gone. Very easy call now for Gambit to go towards the bottom side. Push that one up. Look for this last team fight and wait for these super minions to force someone back from Elements to defend it. And then you just go straight for the tower meanwhile, because we know the attack speed buff from Diamond onto Pinoy should almost cap him out at 2.5 attack speed. And then he can just wreck a tower.
Man, Diamond's been able to do quite a good job mopping up these kills. 5-0-1 on a tanky AP Nidalee. This is the kind of item build I would expect on like a Kassadin or something, but he's making it work for him. He's got the double buffs. He's got the Guardian Angel, although he could be in a little bit of trouble right now. Okay, Diamond, come on, don't get too hypey here.
It's fine, he can heal it up again. Cabochard pushing into mid lane. Again, we need those super minions in the base. Force Elements away. Otherwise, there's still a lot of wave clear on their side with the ANivia.
Yeah, Cabochard's going to start pushing in the middle. They have to answer this. There are super minions. Ooh, Froggen flaps away from the hook. Eddie has just been ridiculous. True Thresh Prince form this game. And he's had a little bit of help from Pinoy as well, so he's been all over the map. This tower still being fired down. Froggen throws down his ultimate to try and clear away the minions, that Glacial Storm. But Gambit is right back at it. Yeah, they can't clear it. There's no way to safely check into that. This tower, I feel like they're going to get it sooner or later. Froggen eats the charm. Nyph's got the damage, not quite enough. One more shot would be all it needs to take down the tower, but they've been pushed back for now. Eddie a little bit low. They catch Rekkles with a Dark Binding, and he's able to Quicksilver Sash that one and get away.
This tower is so low. Pinoy should be able to get it there. Yeah, inhibitor as well. 3 inhibitors gone.
They have to deal with the super minions on the top side. They're starting to wreck through the Nexus turrets. That's going to be an easy inhibitor number 3. 45.5 minutes in. Gambit are on the cusp of pushing in Elements who have no room to breathe in this game. And Gambit, if you get a win here, this has got to feel so good.
Yeah,
after the way they started this split, to be able to take out a team with the reputation of Elements has got to be so huge. And Rekkles, they're going to get the charm off on him, even though the wild growth is forced, still taken very low. They're pushing in on multiple fronts here. Nyph going forward. They've caught Nyph. He's going to go down. Nyph picks up his second kill of the game. Froggen tries to move away from Cabochard's Soul Shackles as a Nexus turret. One goes down. Diamond gets his GA pop. Pinoy covering his escape. Elements just don't seem to have an answer here right now, Deficio.
They're still fighting for it. Shook is going in.
He's going in right now. Here we go. They're going to go for it. Froggen cut. He's gone. They had no passive. This is going to be it. Gambit Gaming, 46.5 minutes in, destroy Elements and pick up win number 3. Smiles all around on this Gambit squad. They have just done what at the start of the split seemed the impossible. They take down Elements and they come up with their 3rd win and move themselves a little bit closer up the standings.
And it was looking so good for Elements here. They secured the objectives, they ran as a team. Gambit couldn't team fight them at all. They had the ward control as well from Elements, and then we had that one fight here where they pushed down towards the mid lane. There are 2 holes to the side of them, to the flank, where there's no wards, and that's where Nyph comes from one of them, and obviously Diamond came in from the other one behind Elements. And we had that insane team fight where they just kite around one by one from Gambit, secure 4 kills, a Baron, and suddenly they're back in the game. Just like when Elements played SK Gaming, it was one team fight that really decided it, so they fell behind, they lost control of the map, they could no longer set up these 5 versus 5s they wanted to, and Gambit could take the win.
And over on the side of Elements, another heartbreaking loss for them, as they now slip down to 4-4 in the standings. And who would have guessed that?
Yeah.
To looking so good on paper. They just haven't been able to execute. This was another long game, hasn't been as long as some of the ones we've seen Gambit featured in. But man, they were able to close that time around just magnificently there. And all off the back of mistakes. Again, Shook got isolated. Again, Diamondprox just massive. He made late game Nidalee work.
He did.
That's impressive.
I mean,